Welcome to the Gravity Well podcast with me, Jenny Araby. I host the Gravity Well to celebrate and share the stories of the people empowering others with knowledge, skills, and plans required to reestablish stability in our communities. Your mission is to work through these heavy issues with me in order to lighten the load. I acknowledge that I live on the traditional territories of Treaty 7 and Métis Districts 5 and 6. The treaties and self-governance agreements established by Indigenous peoples were created to honor the laws of the land, maintain balance with nature, and give back to uphold reciprocal relationships. This knowledge and intention are what guide the Gravity Well conversations. I ask for genuine dialogue, real hearts, and openness to different perspectives. This is your invitation to find common ground with me. Positions taken by participants, either individually or collectively, do not necessarily represent those of the Gravity Well. This podcast is dedicated to the natural world, our children, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, and all future generations. The Gravity Well is on YouTube, Substack, and streaming wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you see and hear, remember to like and subscribe. I am down in Piikani Reserve.
That's correct.
In southern Alberta with Harley Bastien. Harley and I met back in, I believe it was March, at the Beaver Creek Watershed Council meeting. And I was really impressed by Harley's questions in the room. So the one thing I would say, by the way, Dixon says hello. He also wasn't able to join us today. But Dixon did a really good job, in my view, of having the right people in the room, right? He had Indigenous representation. He had the Hutterite community, he had all the local residents, then he had experts, and he even had council members in the room. So to me, it was, everybody was there who should have been there. So check that box. The next thing was the questions, the conversation, and the presentations, in my view, were all what we needed to be talking about. You know, he was talking about all the data that he's gathered with all the community over the last 20 years, and how he's been dedicated, not just him, but he makes a point of saying everyone involved in the Beavershed group to have conversations, important conversations, and to make sure that the decisions are being made by the landowners, not by somebody else. And so one of the things that Harley said while we were in this meeting is, we can do everything we can, but if our headwaters aren't protected, this area will suffer. And so why that I say that is because they had done all this work over the last 20 years to look after their river system and make sure it was healthy, but that isn't looking after the whole headwaters. So I was telling Harley in advance of this that, you know, we're having these conversations is one thing, but what we're trying to do in the real world is get to that logic of looking after our headwaters. So we want to start restoring the eastern slopes. As we've known since the 1870s or longer, I'm sure, that area is not a place to be developed. It's a place to be preserved and honored and looked after, because that's why I look at it as the taps. Like, this is our water source. Every time we log, we're shutting off the water. Every time we put a coal mine in, we're polluting that water. Every time we put a road in, we're getting dirt into our rivers. So all of those things that are adding to the issue, we want to try and reverse that. So in the world of assumptions, I'm here to speak with someone that I believe has a lot of knowledge in that and where we should be headed and what ways we can repair the landscape. So that's just, this is an open-ended discussion for you, Harley. I'm happy to help walk through the conversation, but let's use this hour to hear your thoughts, and I'll be here for questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Jenny. I appreciate you taking time to come out and put some efforts towards addressing this issue, this problem. So I'll start with introducing myself. It's a Piikani. Introduce myself by my Blackfoot name, which I interpreted to English loosely translates into the leader. I'm from the Piikani people. Very happy to spend this time with y'all today. And also like to add that I am 10th, probably maybe 10,000 generation Piikani.
Wow.
So the land and And the beginning way of living is etched right into my being. I grew up in a semi-traditional background, raised by both parents and grandparents here on the res, and traveled extensively. In my later years, my early years, I learned how to conduct myself as a human being in the greater picture, creation, the natural order. I was taught that I wasn't above any of other creation. I was taught that I had a spirit, and I was also taught that all of creation has a spirit. That's not limited to the planet Earth. It extends far beyond that. The Blackfoot way, indigenous way, we acknowledge what our ancestors, my ancestors, called the star people. Some call them the star beings, the Cthulhu's star people. That there's life or intelligence, if you will, elsewhere on the planet. Why? Because they have come to visit Mother Earth in the past, and some people believe they continue to do so to this day. What I was taught as a child is that everything has a spirit, all of creation, that being plant life, animal life, oxygen, air, you name it, anything that's part of creation has a spirit. And that's how I was taught. And I grew up believing that and conducting myself in such a fashion that I respect all of creation and acknowledge that they have spirit. So that's the fundamentals to my being, my understanding of how my role on the planet should be. And I conduct myself as best as I could accordingly. Outside of that, I call it, my Canadian upbringing. I went to school, elementary, high school, some college, and then I worked a bit in various sectors. I worked in the oil and gas industry for about 2 years. It's about all I could stand of it, because the impacts to the land were just atrocious.
Mhm.
And the people who were conducting those impacts were even more atrocious than their actions. It went against my being and everything that I was taught and stood for, so I bailed out of that real quick, and didn't want any part of it. I realized that this type of mentality and living the dream
Mhm.
comes at a huge cost. What can I do about it? I went on a one-person mission, which I've been on for well over 3 decades.
Mhm.
I got into the environmental side of things, the environmental industry, and consulting. That's where I spent a good 20 years of my life in consulting. All the while, I stay away from working for any level of government. I just find it's a waste of time. And, we all need to make a paycheck to survive and keep the tap running in the fridge full. But for myself, I think there's always alternatives. And so I chose other alternatives. Brings me up to sort of kind of up to speed as to who I am in a small roundabout way. I've been an environmental consultant, owner of 2 separate businesses. One called Harley Walkers Incorporated, and then in 2000 and sold in 2012. I started Eagle and Buffalo Rock TV Camp
Mhm.
as a way to give back and through education and providing two different points of view, two different perspectives on the same subject matter. I used to what I call indigenous science and Western science, and I try blend both to create a better solution to looking at a problem or a perspective on whatever the subject matter may be.
Right.
With Harley Walkers, I have worked a lot internationally. I worked for about 4 years with various ministries of the Chinese government. Personally spent about 4.5 months in China, spread over those 4 years. I've had a lot of Chinese people come right here to my Buffalo Rock People camp. I work a lot with the United States, exclusively in the state of New York, state of Montana, state of Wyoming, and all in the private sector. And then I represented clients from Europe and the Middle East here in Canada who were looking to develop in a sustainable renewable energy projects, wind and solar, especially in southern Alberta. What else? Sit on various advisory panels and committees. I sit with the Minister of Environment, Alberta Minister of Environment's Chief Scientist Office. I sit on a panel called the Indigenous Wisdom Advisory Panel. Our counterparts are the Science Panel. We get together and we try to come up with solutions to make Alberta a little bit more gentle on Mother Earth. So completing my third 3-year tenure, I'm planning on not pursuing another term there with the panel. I didn't want to start my third 3-year tenure, but some of my colleagues insisted that they needed my help, so I couldn't bail out of it. And hoping they don't play the same card. I just might have to stay another 3 years.
Right.
Which to me is a waste of time.
I feel you.
It's all geared around to the oil sands.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in the southern region where I'm from, where I call home. It's all focused around trying to make and get the oil sands to look and smell as good as they can.
Right.
And to me, that goes against everything I believe.
Yeah. This is you can participate as long as you do it our way kind of thing.
I also teach a lot of land learning, what they call it today. I work with different school boards, and I have schools and post-secondary, secondary come to my PP camp, as well as corporations and tourists. And so have a very busy lifestyle, and but it's all geared towards the environment.
Right.
Many years back, I went on a vision quest. Just up here in the Porcupine Tail Hills. I was searching. Something in my life wasn't complete. It made me feel whole. That came out of that on the whole feeling had to do with what I was exposed to in school, the residential school system, and the reserve school system, Catholic schools, and integrated into the public school system here in the Fort McLeod, smaller towns, and went through that, and as you go on into life, and start getting out, and seeking an upgrade your education, seeking work, so on and so forth, and so I that's pretty much been sort of kind of my journey in a nutshell in my life. I've experienced a lot, seen a lot. I paid my own way. I just recently started another business consulting called Eagle and Raven. Me and a former colleague of mine, Brad, he come and he got me out of retirement a couple of years ago.
Right.
Talked me into getting back into consulting, but this time for restoration. So we've been pursuing restoration since then.
Awesome.
We worked with several clients out of Calgary and looking to expand the service. Says here at Buffalo in terms of starting a tree farm of sorts, not the regular run-of-the-mill tree farm where you've got rows of trees. I'm calling them tree plots, where they'll make the least impact to the natural spiritual integrity of the river valley here on my property.
Right on.
So we're working down that way. Again, all private sector, strictly non-funded. Never applied for any grants, funding or anything. I don't know how to do it, so I don't bother. Haven't got any time. Imagine there's a red tape about 20 miles long, so I'm not good at jumping through hoops these days at my age, especially anything to do with government. It is what it is. I'll leave it at that. And
you were saying this is a space for you to help people learn how to be their human
not
self.
in this, just the office.
I understand. I apologize. Yeah,
It's all out there.
Of course.
Indigenous learning, none of it is in here. I'm going to start cutting right to the chase here.
Please.
Indigenous learning. Western learning, you learn about the land in school. Then you go into post-secondary, and then you get your degree and what have you. But all the while, it's on a computer these days, and it's in a building. And you're learning about the land. You're learning from what other people who spend a minimal time on the land, eating there, writing their reports, doing their 5 days on the land, measuring plans, putting up polygons and coming back and maybe in 3 months and looking at them. And they go back and they write their thesis up or what have you. And then, oh yeah, this is it. Well, I know all about the land because I studied it. I got a PhD in what have you. But you can't tell this guy that you know anything about the land.
Right.
Why? Because you don't spend any time on it. You don't wake up in the land. You don't go to sleep in it. I'll show you. You might go to drive for the mountains and hike in the park and maybe up to the mountains whenever you get a chance to go. In my experience at the land is infancy. Just as you're missing the whole fact.
Right.
Missing the whole boat. Because I work a lot with scientists, have been for over 3 decades, all types, not just Albertan scientists, Chinese scientists, European scientists, East Indian scientists, indigenous scientists. I work with all of them. Right. That's why I got a broad knowledge span. That's why people come see me. And so I, in my vision quest back in the days, message, the contact that I got told me to go on to save the land. And in saving my land, the land, I saved my culture. Right. Save who I am. Over 10,000 generations behind. That's who I save. And that's 7 generations. Indigenous people, we talk about 7 generations. What the 7 generations. Most people haven't got a clue of what that is. They just, again, they think in their own way. Oh yeah, so many generations, so many grandkids, Type it up. Generation is what? 20, 30, 25 years multiplied by, oh yeah, that's what they're doing. That's your perspective.
Right.
And your perspective is only your perspective. You are the majority that's got the wrong perspective.
Right.
So, perspective, how we look at it, how we were brought up, how we were raised. Perspective is a personal thing, but it can be influenced.
Yeah.
By many ways. By other siblings, by parents, by friends, by need, by want, by arrogance, by greed. All them things play into it. That's what I was taught. That's how my parents and grandparents taught. They taught these kind of words. That's why I'm aware. I don't know about other people.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I went to school, I never heard any of that.
No, there's
Always taught us what could have been a psycho 2,000-3,000 years ago wrote something down, and by God, it's the gospel. Then everybody's, oh yeah, that's the way it is, you know. So I hear all these different talks and people talking about this and that, and I just think to myself, that's just your perspective. And so I'll kind of, hang around in education for a while, because it's the root. It's one of the roots to all evil, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Science. Take, for example, I'll just use it in the Blackfoot way. When you go talk to an elder and you ask them a question, they're going to look at you and they're going to ask you a couple of little questions so they'll know where your train of thought is and kind of person you are.
Mm.
Then they'll say, "Okay, smarty pants, I'm gonna give you your answer, but it's going to be in the story, and you're going to find that answer out for yourself.
Right.
Don't expect me to sit here and spell it all out. You got to work yourself to find that answer."
I mean, I have something in that. I have an idea of what that means from, like you said, my limited perspective in this. But I think as a Western parent that the mistake that we've made is to shield our kids from things. They're not old enough to take on that burden. They're not, they're a kid. They need to be enjoying their childhood versus, what do you think? Why do you think that is? That's what I wonder, if the stories, if that's what they're doing, is they're helping children understand that I feel like we hold our kids back versus where the stories offer them, they empower them to think for themselves and to find their own truth, like you just were offering. Am I understanding that?
Well, I've been trying to address your question best I could. The problem with the human species, the posters on the wall, you'll see trees, you'll see sky, you'll see grass. You go outside, we'll hear the birds, we'll see the birds, we'll hear other animals. And I ask people this, did you see all that? What do you think of this? Oh yeah, it's beautiful, and it's this and that, and I'm this. Okay, then I ask them this question. Does any of it need you to exist?
Mm-hmm.
No. Do you think all the trees are going to die when there's no human beings here? The birds, the animals? Do you think the air is going to be just more polluted because there's no human beings here? The water is just going to miraculously clean up? No. They don't need us, guys. We need them more than they need us. That's the truth. Teach that in your schools. I want to talk about schools and you teach. Well, let's start with your history. When I went to school, history classes, I learned that some guy named Columbus discovered America. How in the hell could somebody discover something when it was already discovered? How? There were the scientists, the great minds that explained that. if you dare. Explain that one to me and to the rest of the human beings, not the world. We always say the world. We're so narrow-minded when it rains outside and we talk to each other over coffee or across the cashier and we say, oh, it's raining, and the first thing comes out of the other person's mouth is, we need it. Just us.
Right.
We need it. Well, what about the rest of the creation? When people say that to me, I say, yes, the land needs it. And we are only occupants of the land. And at that, we are just on the radar screen as trees, as how long trees have been here, for example. Some part of society, and has been that way ever since we developed 5 toes and 5 fingers and walked upright. The science tells us we are apes. We're animals. Then religion tells us that there's a person up there that come down and made mankind in his image. How disillusioned people have been for thousands of years. And then I look at it even farther, and I start picking it apart and analyzing it for myself. And I look at religion. Okay, let's throw that in, because it affects everything's here. As Native people, we don't throw that out.
Right.
No? I know you guys do. You're scared to address religion. Oh, come on, get kicked out of the church. Yeah, I don't care less about churches. To me, churches are nothing more than financial institutions and torture chambers at times. It's all down to me. I don't know about anybody else. Feelings are hurt, I could care less. Telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not here to make anybody feel good. I'm here to protect Mother Earth for 7 generations. Guys, 7 generations. I don't care less about your church and some guy you claim walked on water. Let's talk about that guy that supposedly walked on water. Where does he come from? He comes from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
What's the natural skin color of those people from the Middle East? Well, you look at you steal somebody's name, their religion, you make him your God, your savior, then you paint him white with blonde hair and blue eyes. I mean, come on, guys. Get it right. When you talk about Christopher Columbus, well, as far as I know, he never even set foot on Turtle Island. He only made as far as the East Indies. Mm-hmm. The first European here, which they claimed, was Cortez. But in the meantime, you've got science digging out on the East Coast saying that the Vikings were here way before Columbus never even made it here. That's a lie, guys. That's absurdity. So, but what do you teach in school? Do you teach any of that? No, you don't. You keep teaching your lies, your fallacies, and you teach them to your kids. Then you say, oh, am I being the right parent? No, you're all failing because you're not telling them the truth. Why don't you start there? That's how I was brought up. Yeah. With the truth. I've been told a bunch of fairy tales and make-believe by some psycho, like I said, who wrote it 2,000-3,000 years ago. Not this guy. I will not join your march of folly.
Yeah.
Not me.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, there's enough of you clowns taking care of that. And as far as I'm concerned, you can knock yourselves out and your children, and your grandchildren, and them before you, because that's all you're going to accomplish.
Yeah.
And if not, explain to me how you're not going to do that. How do you expect to accomplish that teaching lies in your school? You want to start something right? Start with teaching the truth in your schools. Why don't you start? I got to challenge you.
Yeah, I have a son in junior high, and recently he said to me, Why do we learn about history as if it's over? For example, World War II. He said, why do we learn it as if it's over? And it's so true. Like you were saying earlier, a story for somebody else, right?
Mhm.
Rather than something that we're meant to own and take responsibility for. The other thing you said earlier, which I'm wondering if you can speak about, is giving back.
Getting what?
Giving back. Like you said, you're using this campus as giving back. And something that really resonates with me is somebody who is like you, looked at environmental implications. We talk about, for example, carbon capture and storage versus removing waste from the landscape and letting it come back to life. So to me, that is a way better carbon capture effort, and it's giving back to the land versus doing another development to solve a development problem.
Like I said, I've spent 9 years with the chief scientist's office. He toured the oil sands, several locations, flew over it, got it boosted, and this is all because I requested this. And I stayed on that, rode them hard until okay, we'll bring you guys out. I said, you want us to talk about stuff, but you won't bring us out.
Right.
But you want us to read your reports, your monitoring reports. That's how you guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I sit with a lot of biologists, and I can tell the Earth people from the others. And there's very few of them, what I call Earth people. Not many of them. They somewhere in their life they find their way back to the Earth. They find themselves back to their spirit. It's either by hook or by crook. But then sooner or later, Earth people who didn't start off as Earth people, maybe not their own faults, because that's how they were raised in their thought. But eventually, some, a very limited few, become Earth people. It's the real people. And so it's, life is complex, but it's simple. And today, I hear and I sit in plans and I hear a lot of presentations of my line of work and all kinds of reports, forecasts and projections and what have you. And I hear, sitting at the table, whatever the case may be, wherever I'm reading, all I need is to read about basically who the author is and what it's about. The rest is I've read it before. It's just the real skill of people is just rewording things. So that's all you all do.
Yeah.
And like I said, you go out for a week or two, whatever it is that's required by the regulatory agencies, and you come back and you say, well, okay, this is stable. And but that whole scenario, and like I said, to me, when you talk about giving back, well, I'm talking in the Blackfoot way, and I'm telling the story,
Right.
and hopefully you could find the answer there, because there's definitely an answer to every question you have. You just gotta not so much find the question in me, because I don't want to make it easy for you all. To come jump on Harley's shoulders and just ride off. No. I'm going to just give you enough. You find those questions.
Right.
Those answer those questions. And when you do, then you'll know what you're talking about. Because right now, all these scientists, whoever people you are, it's so easy for you to jump on the computer. Somebody asks a question. Oh yeah, I know all about it. I'll take my phone out to the side and hide it, or go to the bathroom, sit there while I'm doing my doodle and come, oh yeah, I know all about that. A bunch of fakes, phonies. You gotta look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm full of shit. That's what you're full of, as far as I'm concerned. I don't mix words. Why should I? Because the planet's in a rough state.
Yes.
Wanting to keep kissing each other's ass, making things easy for your kids, hiding them from the truth. Keep doing it. Once you start telling them the truth, I'm scared for the future for you. Maybe we're all going to die. Maybe we only got 50 years left. Why don't you tell them that? Yeah, that's indigenous learning right there. I read reports, all it talks about is returns, 3 years. Never once does it say we're talking about the generations and the state of the planet 100 and 200 years from now. Why? Because you can't see that far.
No.
Why? Because you don't care to see that far. Why? Because you're all a bunch of me and nowers. It's all about me and my savings, all my this. It's all about you. You can't take anything with you. I want to leave it for my kids. Well, good. We all want to take care of our kids. But why don't you think about leaving them some breathable air too while you're at it? Instead of the cottage at the lake or what have you. Well, where are they going to go to that lake and it's all dead? Why don't you leave them breathable air, fresh water, rest of creation that sustains our lives and who don't need us? Why don't you tell them that? Why don't you teach the right history in your schools? Why don't you go to your governments and say that this Canadian history is all full of lies? I went to a conference one time in Banff, and I went up there and it was a tourism conference, and all I kept hearing them brag about is Rogers. Rogers did this, Rogers did that.
Mm.
Not even a mention of the native people. So when it comes to Q&A, I was pissed off by then. I got up there and second one on the floor came to me and I said, as a Blackfoot person who was 10,000 generation, if not more, here, all I'm hearing about is this guy named Rogers. So you expecting me to, what you're talking about here and you're selling in this room here is that basically the native people who walked in the footsteps of dinosaurs and woolly mammoths came right up to here, this point of the mountains, and waited there for tens of thousands of years for some guy named Rogers to tell us how to go over the mountains. Rogers then discovered nothing, just followed the neighbors. None of your early explorers, starting from the Yankee side to Lewis and Clark, even over to this side to whoever you want to name, they didn't discover nothing, guys. They just followed indigenous peoples, well-established trail routes. Mm-hmm. This is how it really went down, guys. Is that first Europeans came out walking in our trails. Then they came with horses. And then they came with wagons. Then they came with railroads. Then they came with highways. Over whose trails?
Right. Oh my God. Oh.
But you teach that, then you wonder why the planet's so screwed up. Because you're all screwed up. You don't even know who you are. Well, I'm a Canadian. 6th generation. I got so much clout. I'm a landowner, rancher up here, 4th, 5th generation. Hey, I know everything. How come the snowpack is going away? How come there's no animals left up there? Because all your cattle up there, crapping in all the head springs, chasing all the wildlife out of there, which is Whose home has it been for thousands and thousands of years? But we got to feed everybody. Well, we're going to find a better way of feeding it. No, it's messed up. So give back. As soon as these boots hit the floor, I'm giving back to Mother Earth, all of my relatives, and 7 generations. That's how much I give back. I don't give an hour here, an hour there. I don't get paid for the things that I do. I don't get paid for this interview. But I'm giving it.
Thank you.
All the other interviews I give, I don't get paid for them. Because to me, they can take the money, their glory, their want to be looked at as the expert, not themselves. To me, the only thing that really matters is that I'm protecting all my relatives. And I'm looking at 7 generations. Not of human beings, guys. Get that out of your heads. I'm not talking about your kids, your grandkids, and your great-grandkids. I'm talking about all of creation. And until you can get that in your head and in your heart and in your spirit, there's no hope. The planet will, life that supports this planet, sooner or later, Mother Nature's going to get enough and she's just going to flush the toilet of mankind and the damn thing you can do about it. There ain't no billionaire, smartest scientist, biggest army gonna save. Picture a tornado 2 miles wide coming at you. Picture that tornado 20 miles wide, 200 miles wide. Just picture that coming at you. What are you gonna do? Kind of an old joke that I heard down in Texas. Tuck my head between my legs and kiss my ass goodbye. That's all you're gonna do.
Right.
And all your kids going along with you. You can all hold hands as the tornado sucks you all up. Or you can start finding your true self and where you belong on this planet and find your role. We decided to drive down to Tijuana around this time of the year. After a while, I said, we cross so many bridges that say rivers and creeks, but they're all dry. We keep going as we start getting out of the mountainous region of Northern California into the flatland. Ooh, alongside the highway, the most beautiful green oasis. Palm trees. Big ponds, fountains spraying out of them. And I said to my wife, that's where all the water's going to their golf courses. There's nobody golfing in them. That's their priority.
Yeah.
That's what's most important. Then you go down a little farther south, and then you come into places where 2, 3 swimming pools full of water and nobody in it.
You got to have the pool just in case. What I've learned through this course, like through this conversation so far, is we put ourselves above all other animals. And like you said, we have this here and now model of society. You need to think about just be present. No, I need to think responsibly. I don't want to, like now I'm at a point where I don't want to just be present. I want to be present and active about how I should be behaving differently. Thank you for saying this is our future at risk. We're risking the whole planet with our behavior.
The planet will survive without doubt in my mind. Natural order of things will restructure itself like Mother Earth always has. She'll do it without human beings like she has before. And she will do it again. There will never be another human being species after this one comes. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the thoughts are going to be. God, where are you? Jesus Christ, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call him. Why aren't you saving me? Then you die and your lights go off and you're the last of us. Sobering thought. I was thought to think that way. That's why I keep talking things like this. I know more about your ways than you know about mine. That makes me twice as sharp as you. Anytime, any place. In closing, I would say this is that in terms of the mountains, I'll share a little story that I've shared a few times. As a child, we'd go up into a sand where we get they call Red Oak. Today they call it the castle area. So we go up there and pick what they call owl eyes. My grandmother. We have one adult family member come along and we'd go picking these berries. We'd only pick so much in one spot and we'd leave and go pick over there. My grandmother was saying, "Could have saved some for the relatives." And we can't take them home. And then we move. While we're there, we were got to be quiet. Don't talk loud. Oh, it's no louder than this. Someone was over there and somebody wanted to call her and calm them over there and say, "Hey, you get over here." They'd send somebody over. That's how I grew up. Never questioning why I'm 12 years old. And some getting a little thinking I know it all. Me and one of my cousins, we found a couple of branches and we were back. Started sword fighting. Flick sticks and making noise. Older girls come running over. Grandma wants you guys over the swords. She talked to me. She said, "You, Ethan Lamaka, you should know better. You've been coming up here a long time. You know better to keep quiet." And before I said anything, and she said, "And those sticks, put them away." We dropped them on the ground. Pick them up. When I'm done talking, you go put them right back where you took them. And by the time I was getting a little coffee, I said, "Well, how come, Grandma? There's nobody around here. All around here is in the mountains. It's where the spirits live, mountain spirits. And if we make too much noise, they'll get mad and they'll leave. And when they leave the mountains will become sick. And all the animals and plants and the people will cry out to the Creator, but it'll be too late." What do we have up there now? We have a 3-ring circus. Everything from the Shriners to little old ladies picking berries, coal miners, oil and gas, logging, quads, side-by-sides, yahoos, weekend warriors who just so full of machismo, they got to jump in their $20,000 razors and go up there and just rip the crap out of Mother Earth. But sooner or later, them rivers are going to go dry. Then where are you going to go? I say this to people, "Oh, we'll just move over there. They got water over there." What happens if they don't want you around? They don't want to share your water. You're going to fight them for it? That's when the water wars start. So you might think you got all the solutions and you're on top of the world, but you ain't top of nothing. You only top of death and destruction of your own people, your own offspring. So that's sort of how I was thought about to look at the mountains. It's precious, leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't need to be up there. What the hell do you want to do up there? Not your home. Human beings don't have to inhabit every part of it. And now we're even trying to think that we can go to that space and live up there. Can't live on the moon. It's so ridiculous. Well, you might fly out of space, but you can't live there. You only got one home, and it's Mother Earth. And what are you doing there? You're just raping her. You're just abusing her. And don't forget, she's been human beings, people only been here for a few thousand years. She's billions of years old. She's got the power. You got nothing. And just like I said, flush the toilet. Nothing you can do about it. So it's up to you. I was asked by the last interview. In closing, he said, Harley, is there hope? There isn't. If there is hope, well, please prove me wrong. I love to be proved wrong when it comes to that question. So I hope that, to me, like I said, I wasn't going to miss any words because I know the kind of people I'm talking to. I know the audience. If you think you're somebody I haven't met with, you have met with a lot of your kind. So that's all I got to say to you all is, knock yourselves out. Fill that pool out a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
Golf a little harder. Meantime, people like me will be down here trying to save the planet for your grandchildren, your great grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Harley. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm so grateful for your honesty. I'm going to take a lot of time reflecting on this conversation, I'm sure. I hear you. I'm here to learn. I'm here to understand that I don't have the answers and that we need to look to, as my good friend Kevin offered today, to look to the prime culture and realize that we're not prime culture as Western society, and know that, this is the wisdom we need to search and seek and keep seeking and keep working for and keep supporting. So thank you for very much for your time.
It comes after the truth.
Okay.
Seek the truth. Saying the truth will set you free. Comes out of some church or what. The first step is going to be truth, realization of truth. And the best place to start that realization is not so much at home, because not all homes are of any high moral standards as society has identified it. But the truth begins in your schools. You want to teach history, teach the right history. You start questioning your ministers of education. You start questioning your voted in politicians. You tell them. And don't they change the curriculum? Start with Cortez and Columbus if you don't know where to start.
Right.
In fact, in the Vikings. And then start going inland and start saying, oh yeah, we didn't discover nothing. King of England has no freaking right to come over and say, this is my land. I mean, that's what predators do. You know, a bunch of predators. When you realize that it's part of yourself, then you can begin dealing with the truth. But start with your education, start with yourself. Do I have any hope in you all? No, I don't. But you better hope for your kids' sake, your grandkids, that you start changing that way. Thank you.